Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the country. Now you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of over there? Because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time. They talk down to us. They think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing ever, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and it's turning into something truly, truly special. And I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. And I really think we're well on our way to doing that. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of The Herd with Colin Cowherd, talking about actually Doc Rivers being hired as the Bucks head coach. This is an interesting one. We haven't talked a lot about basketball recently because obviously we're in the heart of the NFL playoffs right now and all that, but we will be transitioning into the NBA once the NFL is done. So hopefully you all are basketball fans. Please let me know if you are in the comments. I really want to kind of hear and see where you all stand with that, to see how much basketball clips and NBA clips that I should be doing in the first place. But yeah, let's just get right into it.
Hires, it's official. Doc Rivers is the new coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. Listen, they hired Adrian Griffin. He was a first-time head coach with a championship or bust team with 2 stars.
Which is an absurd thing to do.
But think about this for a second. Maybe I'm wrong. But this does feel, what's happening in Milwaukee, a little bit like LeBron and David Blatt. They were the number 1 seed, 30-11. And LeBron didn't like the coach. And the Bucks are the number 2 seed, 30-13, won 5 of 6. And Giannis doesn't like the coach. And LeBron gave the okay initially to Blatt, and Giannis gave the okay initially to Griffin. But eventually the superstars aren't happy. But just think about this. Giannis comes in, and I'm not blaming him. He was a sweet, naive kid. I mean, you'd see pictures of him at McDonald's and local restaurants, and he signed every autograph. And then, of course, he has now been infused, not his fault, it's a reality, with the American idea of success, which is nobody's ever satisfied. Lamar Jackson wins an MVP. Hey, where are the playoff wins? Chiefs 11-6 off a Super Bowl win. What a disappointing season. 4 titles for LeBron, 10 trips to the finals. Hey, he's no Jordan. That's what we do to our young stars.
I think that's an amazing point. I really do. I think that's a great point. And the first person that comes to my mind right now is actually Brock Purdy in that regard. And I'm not going to turn this into a Brock Purdy segment, but so many people want to, tell me how amazing or how awful Brock Purdy is. And that's because, people are like, well, look what Tom Brady did, or look what Patrick Mahomes did, or look what these other players did. And it's like, again, what kind of bar, does someone have to get over just to be, good or even great for that matter? And that was the thing, when you're being compared or being considered to being elite, well, then they compare you to other elite players. So when Giannis won his first NBA Finals, it was all the talk about saying, is he now going to usurp LeBron James as the best player in the NBA? And they started comparing the ages and saying, like, this is when LeBron went on his run and started winning multiple championships. And, and I guarantee you, Giannis heard that and felt that pressure. And because, again, it's one of those things, especially in basketball. And I guess right now, since everyone's chasing GOAT status in the NFL, you win a Super Bowl, you win an MVP, or you win an NBA championship, it's how many can you get? It's no longer about just winning one. It's how many can you get? Patrick Mahomes already has a bunch. Tom Brady has 7. If you want to be considered to be one of the best quarterbacks ever, you got to get 3, 4, 5 Super Bowls. 1 Super Bowl is not enough. Like, Aaron Rodgers is punished for only winning 1 Super Bowl. Back in the day, winning 1 Super Bowl was all you needed to be considered to be, to have arrived. And, it really hurts Aaron Rodgers, the fact that he also only went to 1 Super Bowl. And so that's the thing with Giannis. If people want to talk about Giannis being, the face of the league or the best player in the NBA just right now, let alone of all time, which I don't think at this point anyone is necessarily considering him to be one of the, to be the best player of all time. He's got to win multiple NBA Finals, right? He's got to win 2, 3. And not only does he have to win one, but he also probably has to win one like in a dominant fashion. One that is like, we are a juggernaut. I am a juggernaut. You have no chance at beating me right now, right? Like, I feel like he needs to almost like have that type of statement where it's just like, no way, there's no chance to get by me and the Milwaukee Bucks. And that's just not what he has been able to do. And so I'm sure, Giannis is constantly, because it was, right? A handful of years ago, he was just so grateful and had such gratitude. And it's always every time like they win, when someone wins, no matter what the situation is in the first time, it's always like, you're just so emotional. You're like, oh my God, I love you guys. I want to be in Milwaukee forever. I want to, this is my team. It's like when you meet a girl or a guy, right? It's the honeymoon stage. In the beginning, you're like, oh my God, I love this person. I'm going to marry them and spend the rest of my life with them. I could never imagine getting in a fight with you. The moment you start thinking that thought, you're delusional, right? Because the odds of you never getting in a fight with your partner is just slim to none. And in fact, if you don't, it's probably not a healthy relationship in the first place. So it's just, I think that's kind of what Giannis is going through with the Bucks. And I think what Colin's point is, culturally, that's what we do. And I don't even want to say it's just American culture. I think it's sports culture more than anything. I watch a lot of like Formula One racing and stuff like that. And if anyone is familiar with F1 racing, you have a big, driver, Max Verstappen, who has now won 2 or 3 championships at this point. And when he won his first one, that was like this big, amazing, emotional moment where he also said, I want to be, Red Bull is the car, forever and all this. And the whole question was like, well, how many are you going to win? If you want to pass the person who has more than you have to win another 6 just to tie, and you have to win 7 to be the all-time great, the all-time leader. So again, it was like the moment you win, it's like literally the next moment is, okay, now what? What's next? We have to win again. How do we win again? And I think that gets exhausting. And I think originally, Giannis was kind of pushing back against that, and now clearly, I think he has the anxiety of like, no, I have to win, and I have to win consistently.
And it's not going backwards. It's getting worse. So between Aaron in Green Bay and Giannis with the Milwaukee Bucks, it feels like, biggest star in town, cold Midwestern, kind of irrelevant city. I used to call it the Green Bay quarterback system, the Green Bay quarterback syndrome. And now it feels like the Wisconsin superstar syndrome. First, you feel lucky to be there, then a title and a few MVPs, and you're lucky to have me. But it does feel like Giannis feels a little like LeBron. Shaq, for the record, was too big for Orlando. You know he was. This happens. Too big for Orlando. KD felt too big for OKC. LeBron felt too big for Cleveland. Giannis now has MVPs, star of the league, pressure, expectations. He's getting annoyed very quickly. Anybody else notice this? I mean, they're doing everything now like they did with LeBron. They put Giannis's brother on the roster. They get him Dame or else. They hire the coach he wants, then fire the coach he wants. And again, it's a Midwestern, cold, overlooked town, Cleveland, Milwaukee, kind of Rust Belt feeling, although Milwaukee's a little hipper. And it feels like the superstar. Remember what Kareem did? And it was a different league back then. Stars didn't get everything they wanted. Kareem basically said quietly to the organization, get me to New York, L.A., or D.C. Look it up. He said it quietly. I don't want to burn the organization, but I want out. I'm bored. There's not enough here. I'm not challenged. And they did everything they could. And they pulled off a pretty good trade considering they lost the great player in the game. But this feels like, to me, very LeBron in Cleveland. They're doing everything. It's Midwest. They're trying. And then you come to the realization that just Shaq was too big for Orlando. And LeBron was too big for Cleveland. And KD was too big for OKC. You got to build it a different way. And by the way, you got a title with him. And you've had great years with him. But this is his coach. You're a number 2 seed. You're on a hot streak. I want him out. And they cave in 1 hour. I mean, they just cave. and they caved on his brother, and they cave on Dame, and that's what you got to do. To me, it just feels very LeBron in Cleveland. Midwestern city, have a superstar, caving to his demands, and it just feels like Giannis is getting more annoyed more often. Doesn't it? Kind of. I don't think that's a reach. Like you're a number 2 seed. You're 30-13. You've won 5 of 6.
I think it's coming down to the pressure he feels. And I think having Damian Lillard increases that pressure, because I think he knows that he now has a true elite teammate that if he doesn't win, it only makes him look worse, actually. People would have given him more the benefit of the doubt if he didn't continue to keep winning in Milwaukee, because they're like, well, it's Milwaukee, and look, who does he have? Now that he has Damian Lillard, it's like, well, you have another Hall of Fame player, this elite sharpshooter who has carried his own team before. You better win. And I think that's where, Giannis is continuing to feel that pressure, and it's kind of starting to build. And I think also in his mind, he was expecting it to maybe be easier. He was expecting to get Damian Lillard and be like, oh, we're going to be in first place. We're going to roll. No one can stop us. Because, in his mind, that's all it takes. And now it's like, well, that's not happening. Who's the problem? Is it the head coach? And the Bucks are kind of dropping the ball here, because firing a coach mid-season and now just hiring Doc Rivers, it's turning into a mess right now, honestly. Like, you needed to make sure that you had this bona fide situation. And the truth is that that's more easily done with a LeBron James, because LeBron James is LeBron James. And LeBron James is, basketball IQ and just what he can do and the way he can truly carry a team is really, at least in the modern era, is second to none in basketball right now. And I don't think Giannis has that. Whether it's because of his personality, because of the somewhat language barrier. I know he obviously speaks English and all of that, but it's still just different. It's just culturally different. The way he communicates is different. It's just different energy. It's different than LeBron James, right? I guarantee you LeBron James connects with Damian Lillard on a more deeper personal level than Giannis ever could. They just come from two different worlds. It's not to say that they can't connect. It's just different. And so I think the same problem is with Embiid. Even for that matter, I think that's just part of the issues of being culturally different, in being raised in a different country entirely. If anyone has ever interacted with other people from different cultures, do you know that this is a real thing? We see this just from hanging out with different people in the same state, but from different towns and different cities. Now we're talking about different countries. And so I think this is really risky. I mean, getting Doc Rivers obviously is a bona fide head coach, but I don't think Doc Rivers is that great of a head coach. I think he's underperformed significantly, and I don't know what he brings. I've watched a lot of games with Doc Rivers. He was a Sixers head coach, and I was just never happy with how he handled things. I mean, it was just kind of like, I don't know what you're doing. The best thing about Doc Rivers being hired is now, he's no longer a commentator, and I just did not enjoy listening to him. No disrespect to him, but I mean, yeah, I think the Bucks are kind of dropping the ball here. Honestly, it's hard to imagine that Rivers is going to just really make that much of a difference here. And I think this could unravel very quickly, because if, let's say, the Bucks go on a losing streak, or now they drop down to the 3rd seed or whatever, 4th seed, who knows? I think it could just unravel very quickly. And what happens if the Bucks don't win another NBA Finals? Do they fire Doc Rivers now? Does Doc Rivers get fired again? Or are they now stuck with Doc Rivers for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years or whatever? What is the situation here? So I think they're getting lost in the fold right now, and it's got a chance to actually really backfire on them. But that's my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this one. What do you think the Bucks should have done? What do you think about Giannis and his changing personality? Do you think it's right? Do you think it's wrong? And what about Doc Rivers? Do you think that's actually a good hire and not a bad one? Please let me know in the comments below. Please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and it's turning into something truly, truly special, and I would love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to subscribe. Please don't forget to hit the like button, as it really helps with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.